is NABShow Live.
Hey guys, Larry Becker here. NABShow 2018 in the North Hall. Now, I'm at the Phabrix booth. This is a really cool booth, some amazing technology. We got a pre-briefing with Phillip Adams. You're the owner and the managing director here at Phabrix.
Yeah, that's correct. So Phabrix is a company I started 13 years ago, so we're now in our 14th year. And Phabrix is all about test and measurement. Our competitors are companies like Tektronix. They're the people we compete with.
Very good. So some of the solutions that you have here are testing systems for stress testing, and then also you've got some new HDR systems. So let's go through some of the systems that the people are so excited to stop by your booth and see, please.
Okay. Well, at Phabrix we have three product ranges. We have the SX range, which is handheld, and that's what we're famous for. And we have two more rack mount ranges, the RX, working with payloads up to 3G, and the QX working with payloads up to 12G. And on the QX in particular, we have a new feature. So this is all about HDR it's all about stress testing SDI interfaces. So you're operating at 12 gig. We have the world's fastest real-time eye technology in there. So we already have that side covered. But what we've now introduced is the ability to insert jitter, and that's working from a frequency of 10 hertz up to 10 megahertz. We're also introducing something called BERT testing, which is a new kind, not a new kind of testing, but new to broadcast. So in SDI, everyone's used something called pathological checking previously. We're now introducing BERT testing, and look out for a white paper from us in the next couple of months, and that'll be really interesting, and that ties in with that tool.
Now, with respect to the HDR, you mentioned something about a new workflow potentially that is compatible with some existing HDR platforms.
Okay, so if you came to IBC, you'd have seen the products working in PQ. You come to this exhibition, they're now working in HLG, and we're now working with Sony S-Log3 and S-Log3 HDR Live. So those tools are on there. And if you've ever looked at HDR, it's kind of a really new technology. If you look at the standards, they're like 3 months old, 6 months old. So it's a new kind of science coming through, and we're creating new instruments. So there will be new instruments to come, and what we're presenting here, we have about 5 instruments here that help you work with HDR. So here we're demonstrating HDR on the QX platform. HDR is a software option, and what it brings is these particular instruments. So here on the picture monitor, we have a cool instrument on this, which I will show you. So what this tool is doing, it's looking at the luminance information within the picture, and it's creating a coloured overlay. So if before I do this, let me start again. Let's bring the picture view up. So, what I should say, this is football that's been filmed. It's Spurs versus Juventus, I think, at Wembley. Filmed in Sony S-Log3, so it's recorded in Sony S-Log3, and it's unedited, as you can see. But we do have the authority to present this. We've got clearance on that, so we're okay. And this is the player that's playing it. So so within the picture monitor, you have a number of controls that allow you or a number of features that allow you to look at HDR. So what I can do is I can turn it into Grayscale Mode. So normally you'd be looking at the picture itself, but let's knock it back to Grayscale Mode, and then what I can then do is overlay some coloured information related to the luminance values in there. So if you look up here, we've got a bunch of presets. So had this been PQ HDR, I could have have a setup that highlighted various things to do with that were appropriate for for a PQ configuration. So and these are separate bands. So this band, if pixels occur on screen in this range, this kind of mid-range, they'll be coloured blue. If they appear really high brightness, they'll appear purple. So you can have settings. Here you see we have a setting kind of midway. This could be the level of brightness that maybe someone's face is that brightness, and that's what you want to kind of standardise on. And you could do that. You create a band you could colour it pink. So you could change the settings down here, have any start colour, any finish colour, and highlight using that technique. If I just show you one of the settings in here, S-Log3 out of range, This is relevant to the way this is recorded. As we can see, most things are in range, but we've got a little bit of stuff going out of range within
helpful.
the crowd, so you can see that. So kind of quite a key tool there. On the waveform monitor, we now have scales that are appropriate for the standard. So here you can see that we have NITS S-Log3 up to a 4000 scale. This could have been filmed in S-Log3 SR Live, HDR Live. If it was, we'd have a different range going up to 6000 nits, so the scales adapt to the standard that you're using. You can also go to more traditional scales, so you can do like millivolts, percentage, that kind of thing. And this is showing you I think this is the white level that you're aiming. I'll have to find out actually what that
target level.
It's a target level, yes. And we're going to be producing some user configurable target levels, so to help you.
Very interesting.
To help you do things.
I can see where this would be very powerful as a producer to be able to use these tools.
Yeah, and here you can see a vector scope that's working with that. All these instruments scale, so it's very, very simple to scale in. Here's a CIE chart. One of the new things we've done on here, and we have the original two triangles in yellow. They're for 2020 color space and 709 color space, so you know what you're filming, whether it is restricted to a 709 space or whether it explores the ranges of 2020. But also you have this blue triangle, and the blue triangle is related to the display that you're using. So if you were using a P3 display, you pop up a P3 triangle in here, and that's kind of letting you know if a color's within that range, then that monitor's able to display it. If it's outside that range, it isn't.
Also very helpful.
It's very helpful, yes, yeah.
And I can see, though, where some of the tools you showed earlier are just so much more helpful, being able to have a mental grasp of what's in range and what is in what range and what's comparing to other similar things.
With HDR, you need instruments again, because with standard television, it was getting to the point where you didn't need it so much. But with HDR, you do. You can't just look at a monitor, because the content, the way it appears, is affected so much by the room you're in. So you have to now resort really to instruments to help you to augment that kind of process.
I can see why there are so many people stopping by. You're adding customers, I'm sure, every minute at the show. Thank you so much for sharing on that. Is there anything that I missed that you want to show off?
Yeah, definitely. So our products traditionally have all worked with SDI, and they're now working with 12 gig SDI. But the real cool thing is that they also work with IP. And at this show, we're demonstrating the same tool set, the QX tool set, targeted at UHD. That's now working with IP in 2022-6 and in 2110. And we're demonstrating that on the booth. Also, the handhelds are working IP as well. So our whole product range is going IP, and they're at the kind of true hybrid products. They work, it protects your investment. And it kind of grows with you as you transition from SDI operation to IP.
Staying on the leading edge and moving to IP is an incredible business move, and it's going to help a lot of people to have these kinds of tools as you move forward. With respect to Phabrix, how can people find out more about you and your company?
Okay, so visit the website. It's www.phabrix.com.
Very good, guys. You wouldn't believe it. You should be at NABShow Live in the North Hall, but if you missed it, go to Phabrix on the web. Thanks, Philip.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you.